of one year, focusing our attention on Jesus Christ and his arrival, and we look forward to a new year. It's interesting, that timing there. It's like as if we should focus on that new year through Jesus Christ, isn't it? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Lord, let me see. Those are words from a miracle story. It's found in the 10th chapter of Mark. So if you have your Bible, please open to there, or if not, grab one of the pew Bibles. We're going to read that in just a minute. I love these miracle stories. This story is about Jesus restoring sight to a blind man, but I like the miracle stories because, well, not only do they give us a teaching of Jesus Christ, do this or don't do that, but they give us a little scene there that we can look at. We can actually even put ourselves in the scene if we like, and we can look at it, and it's like the gospel writer is saying to us, take a look over there at Jesus. You see what he's doing? You see how he's doing that? That's what I want you to do. And then maybe he'll point us over to the crowd and say, you see how they're reacting? It's not working out too well for them, so don't do that. And so you can put yourself right in there, and you can see what to do. It's not just a verbal command to you, but you can see what to do, how it works out in life if you do it that way. And so I love those miracle stories for that reason. Here we are in the 10th chapter of the book of Mark. That lets us know right away where we're at in the life of Jesus Christ. This is right toward the end of his life. In fact, if you look at the 11th chapter, which is right after what we're fixing to read, you see Jesus is sending his apostles to find a donkey for him to ride into Jerusalem for what we now call that triumphal entry, that Palm Sunday. So it's within a week of his death. That's what we're going to be reading right here. Now, as they've been walking along, Jesus told the apostles 3 times, in fact, that when they got to Jerusalem, he would be persecuted by the leaders of the people, and then he would be put to death on a cross. And then he would be resurrected on the 3rd day. Of course, they didn't quite understand, but this is what happened. Notice beginning in verse number 46. They came to Jericho, and as he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stood still and said, Call him here. And then they called the blind man, saying to him, Take heart, get up, he's calling you. So, throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, What do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, My teacher, let me see again. And Jesus said to him, Go, your faith has made you well. And immediately he regained his sight and followed him on his way. As Jesus Christ walked along with his apostles on this road, many times I pictured, well, it was Jesus and the 12 and maybe a few other friendly folks walking along with him, and maybe Jesus was giving them some last-minute instruction about the kingdom. But actually, it was a lot different than that, wasn't it? This was Passover time. Jesus was going to the Passover. And the law of Moses said that all people, all Jews, no matter where they were in the world, should come back to Jerusalem and celebrate the Passover. There's estimates that maybe 100,000 people lived in Jerusalem there in the 1st century. But for the Passover, as many as 500,000 people would be on hand. They crowded into that city. And so you see, as Jesus was walking along here, it was kind of a big, huge crowd. It was kind of like chaos as he was walking along there. Some people had their Passover lamb with them. Maybe they were carrying it. Some people had their donkey with some of their possessions that they would need. Maybe one of their children up there, maybe their wife. Children were running around. You know how that goes. Mothers are hollering, Get back over here. You know, you're going to get lost in this crowd. Children, you know how they are. Are we there yet? And all that type of thing is going on. People waving at their relatives that they hadn't seen in a while. So there was all kind of chaos going on around Jesus Christ as he and the others walked on up the road. Jesus was just leaving Jericho on the last leg of his journey. It's only 17 miles from Jericho to Jerusalem, but it's almost straight uphill. There's a 3,000 different feet elevation between those 2 points, and so they were slowly walking up this steep incline to get to Jerusalem. And as they did, a blind beggar heard that it was Jesus. Jesus, this young rabbi from Galilee. Jesus was walking by. And as soon as he heard that, he began to shout out, "Jesus, Jesus, have mercy on me." Did you ever wonder how much this blind man could have known about Jesus Christ? After all, he was blind. He never did see Jesus do any miracles. He never did see Jesus take just a few loaves of bread and just continue to hand that out until thousands of people were fed. He never saw that. He never saw Jesus touch a leper and his skin become fresh again. He never saw that. He never saw Jesus raise a little girl back to life. He never saw Jesus give sight back to a blind man. But he was desperate, wasn't he? Because if Jesus couldn't do anything for him, and if Jesus wouldn't do anything for him, there was no other hope for him. This was not his last chance. This was his only chance to ever be able to see again. And so he called out in his desperation. He had just a little bit of faith based on the stories that he heard. Just a little bit. Jesus would call it faith the size of a mustard grain. But he let that faith and his desperation move him to call out to Jesus. "Jesus, have mercy on me." Have you ever been desperate like this man was? Have you ever felt like that you were in a situation that was, well, almost absolutely hopeless? Have you ever exhausted every possibility, done everything that you knew how to do, and still it seemed like nothing was working, and in your despair, you called out to Jesus, "Jesus, Jesus, have mercy on me"? Have you ever felt like that? I've felt like that before, and I think if you look through your memory, you may have felt like that before too. And if you can recall that feeling, that's how this man felt right at this time, desperate for Jesus Christ to help him. But whenever he called out for help from Jesus Christ, those around him tried to shut him up. We're not told why. Maybe they felt like this man was of such a low status that he didn't deserve anyone's help. Maybe they felt like Jesus couldn't do anything anyway. Maybe they had something in mind that they were going to ask Jesus to do for them, perform a little miracle for their entertainment. Maybe take a few loaves and have a meal for everybody. We don't know why, but basically what they said to this man was, "Shut up, you old beggar. We don't want to hear you whine about all your problems." Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been to the point where that you knew you needed to call out to Jesus Christ and no one else could help you, and you called out to Jesus and people tried to discourage you from doing that? Increasingly we live in a world where people are kind of focused on doing that, aren't they? Right now in our Christmas season, they don't want us to say that word Christmas. It contains Christ. They don't want us to say that. Call it the Winter Festival. Call it something else. Say Happy Holidays. Say Season's Greetings. Don't say Christmas. What are we going to do? What are we going to say? Well, okay, we don't want to hurt your feelings or nothing. Is that what we're going to do? What did the blind man do? When they tried to stop him, he called out all the louder, "Jesus, have mercy on me." What a wonderful example he set for us. Then we see what I think are some of the most dramatic words in the whole New Testament. It don't seem so dramatic in this version of the Bible. I read from the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. That's what our Pew Bible is. It says, "And Jesus stood still." You don't know if Jesus was just standing there in the crowd and maybe right in front of the man, and that's why I could hear him. Other versions of the Bible say, "And Jesus stopped." In other words, he was walking along with the crowd in all that chaos, and he heard the man and he stopped. Not only the chaos going on around him, just think of what was going on in his mind. Jesus knew that in a week's time,